What if the person making you feel crazy is actually doing it on purpose? Seriously, I want you to think about someone in your life right now. Maybe it's a partner, a parent, a close friend, or even a coworker. Someone who just leaves you feeling totally, utterly exhausted after every single conversation. Someone who makes you constantly second-guess yourself. It's like no matter what you do, it feels like it's never quite enough, and somehow, almost magically, you are always the one apologizing. Take a second to just sit with how incredibly heavy that feels. You might be experiencing this deep, draining sense of self-doubt. But here's what we're going to uncover in this explainer. Millions of people are being psychologically manipulated right this very second, and they have absolutely no idea. And it's not because they're weak, and it's definitely not because they're stupid. It's because real, calculated manipulation is incredibly well disguised.
You probably find yourself asking this question all the time, right? Am I too sensitive? Am I just overreacting to everything? Is there something fundamentally wrong with me? If that internal monologue sounds painfully familiar, listen to me right now. That confusion you feel, that crushing self-doubt that seems to completely hijack your brain out of nowhere, that is not a character flaw. And asking yourself if you're too sensitive is absolutely not a sign of weakness. Actually, it is a direct textbook symptom of psychological manipulation.
That confusion is a symptom because, well, manipulation rarely happens all at once. It's not some sudden, aggressive shift that you can spot a mile away. It is slow, it is incredibly quiet, and it is highly calculated. The people who do this haven't just had a rough day at work. They've figured out exactly how your mind ticks, and they're using it against you. It's designed to feel like love, it's designed to feel like total honesty, and terrifyingly, it is designed to feel like your very own thoughts. So today we're unpacking 5 clinical signs of emotional manipulation backed by decades of psychological research. Because awareness, that is your absolute first and most powerful step toward protecting yourself.
Okay, let's dive into this. Sign number 1 is when they make you question your own memory. This is called gaslighting. Now, the term actually comes from a fascinating 1944 film called Gaslight. In it, a husband secretly dims the gas lights in their house and then continuously convinces his wife she's just imagining it, right up until she literally believes she is losing her mind. Psychologists who study coercive control define gaslighting as a slow, systematic process that erodes your confidence in your own perception. Over time, the manipulator just repeatedly denies your reality. It doesn't happen in one big cinematic blowout fight. It happens across hundreds of tiny, everyday moments until you completely stop trusting yourself and start depending entirely on their version of reality.
In real life, it sounds exactly like this. That never happened. You're twisting my words. I never said that. You're just imagining things. Let's look at Emma and Ryan. Emma has been with her boyfriend Ryan for about 2 years now. Every single time she brings up something hurtfully said, Ryan doesn't yell. Instead, he looks completely calm and says dismissively, "You always misunderstand me. I don't know why you hear things that aren't there." After months of hearing those exact phrases, Emma stops bringing things up entirely. She actually starts wondering if her memory is just broken. But it isn't. Ryan is gaslighting her. If someone makes you doubt what you clearly saw or heard with your own eyes and ears, you're experiencing this exact tactic.
But gaslighting is often just the entry point. Sign number 2 comes wrapped in something that looks an awful lot like love. They use guilt as a weapon. Psychologist Dr. Susan Forward identified this as emotional blackmail. Now, in a healthy dynamic, accountability is perfectly normal, right? If you hurt someone, you discuss it, you own it, and you move forward. But an emotional blackmailer does something very different. They position themselves as the suffering victim specifically to control your behavior. They weaponize your natural empathy and your genuine kindness just to keep you firmly in line. They know you don't want to cause pain, and they exploit that exact beautiful trait in you. Let me show you how deeply this plants seeds of guilt. You'll constantly hear things like, "After everything I've done for you," or "I sacrifice so much and this is how you treat me." Think about a guy named James. He grew up with a mother who every time he tried to do something independently for himself would sigh heavily and say, "I gave up my whole life for you." As a result, adult James finds it nearly impossible to say no to anyone without falling into a massive spiral of guilt. He literally cannot set limits. That pattern was planted by emotional blackmail long before he ever had the vocabulary to name it. So, the crucial point is, why do people stay? That brings us to sign number 3, which is the mechanism that keeps people trapped the longest. They keep you completely off balance with hot and cold behavior. This is based on a well-known psychological principle called intermittent reinforcement. Psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered that unpredictable rewards, meaning rewards that come sometimes, but not always, create the strongest, most persistent behavioral responses in humans. It's the exact same psychological mechanism that makes gambling so incredibly addictive. Because you can't predict the outcome, you become totally obsessed with trying to control it. Visually, this contrast is just stark. On the warm and good days, they are loving, generous, present, and safe. You feel completely chosen. But on the cold and distant days, they are short, withdrawn, and offer absolutely zero explanation. Take Sophie and her friend Lauren. Some weeks, Lauren is the most supportive, fun person in Sophie's entire life. But other weeks, she goes completely cold. Sophie spends all her mental energy walking on eggshells, constantly monitoring Lauren's mood, making herself smaller just to avoid setting her off. She is exhausted trying to get back to the good version of her friend. The warmth keeps you attached, and the coldness keeps you working for it.
This leads directly to sign number 4, which is where manipulation becomes truly dangerous. They slowly isolate you from the people who love you. Dr. Judith Herman, a Harvard psychiatrist and a real pioneer in trauma research, identified isolation as one of the primary methods used to establish psychological dominance over another person. Listen to this closely. An isolated person is a dependent person. By removing your outside perspective and stripping away your support system, they ensure there is only one voice left shaping your sense of reality, theirs.
The truly frightening thing about isolation is that it doesn't start aggressively. It hides behind reasonable-sounding concern. They might say with this faux innocent tone, "You know, your sister always stirs up drama," or "I just want more time with you. Is that so wrong?" Look at Marcus and his girlfriend Olivia. Olivia had these small, rational-sounding issues with every single friend Marcus had. One was too negative, another had a weird vibe. 2 years later, Marcus barely speaks to anyone outside of Olivia. When things get hard between them, he has absolutely nowhere to turn except right back to her. That is not love, that is psychological dominance. Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is how incredibly subtle and ingrained it is. Sign number 5. No matter what happens, you are always the problem. This is a super common but hidden psychological pattern called DARVO, an acronym created by psychologist Dr. Jennifer Freyd. It hides so well in everyday language, but I promise, once you learn to recognize it, you will see it everywhere. It is the ultimate tool a manipulator uses to ensure they never ever have to take accountability for their actions. DARVO breaks down in a rapid 1-2-3 punch. Step 1, deny. The manipulator completely denies that they did anything wrong whatsoever. Step 2, attack. They immediately attack you for even bringing the issue up. And step 3, reverse victim and offender. They completely flip the script on your totally valid concerns, positioning themselves as the real victim of your behavior. You go into the conflict just trying to express that you're hurt, and through these exact mechanics, the manipulator ensures you are the one left scrambling to make things right. You'll hear phrases like, "Here you go again, being dramatic," "You're too sensitive," "You're so controlling." Claire actually realized this pattern after months in therapy. Every single conflict with her ex-boyfriend ended exactly the same way. He would list everything wrong with her tone, her timing, her emotions. She never once heard the words, "I was wrong about that." She would enter a conversation with a genuine concern and leave it apologizing, eventually telling herself, "Maybe I really am just too much." That shift from trusting yourself to doubting yourself is exactly what DARVO is designed to create.
So what do you actually do with all this information? Because diagnosing the problem is just the first half of the journey. Now we need to pivot to how you actively protect your reality. It is entirely possible to break these cycles, for sure, but you need a concrete, actionable plan to take your power back and stop this psychological drain once and for all.
So here is your 5-step plan. Step 1, name it. The moment you can put a name on what's happening, like calling out DARVO or gaslighting, manipulation loses a massive amount of its power. Step 2, keep a record. Write things down or use voice notes on your phone, not to build some big legal case, but to protect your own memory against gaslighting. Step 3, reconnect with one safe person.
Isolation thrives in silence, so break it by having just one honest conversation. Step 4, trust the pattern, not the exceptions. The good days are real, yeah? But if the coldness and guilt repeat, trust that overarching pattern. And step 5, get professional support. You absolutely deserve a space where someone is completely on your side.
Let's move to a quick review and see how this builds your new protective framework. Sign 1 is gaslighting. Sign 2 is emotional blackmail. Sign 3 is intermittent reinforcement. Sign 4 is isolation. And sign 5 is DARVO. You now have the actual clinical vocabulary to identify exactly what is happening in the room with you.
Now I want to speak directly to you for a second. Recognizing these tactics isn't about becoming paranoid. It's about learning to trust yourself again. You are not too sensitive, you are not too much, and you are not the problem. You were just someone who needed the right information. And now you have it. Please remember, this explainer is for educational purposes only and doesn't replace professional mental health support. If you feel like you're in a harmful situation, please reach out to a licensed therapist or counselor who can help you safely navigate your specific circumstances.
If this explainer brought you some clarity today, I'd absolutely love for you to join the conversation. Just drop a single number in the comments, 1 through 5, for the sign that hit you the hardest. You don't have to explain a thing or share any personal details if you don't want to. I'll know, and so will everyone else watching. It's a really powerful way to validate each other's experiences and remind ourselves that we aren't alone in this. Because ultimately, you have to ask yourself, if a manipulator studied you this closely just to break you down, imagine how unbreakable you'll become when you turn that exact same focus inward to build yourself back up. Thank you so much for learning with me today. Protect your peace, and I will see you in the next one.